2021 definitely didn't disappoint with its movies. I mean, we got Godzilla vs. Kong. I mean, who doesn't want to see Godzilla fight King Kong, am I right? We got Zack Snyder's Justice League, which was a movie we didn't expect to get at all, so I'm glad we got it, and it was one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. And we got a little movie called Spider-Man No Way Home. I think it's pretty good. I mean, it could be one of my favorite movies of all time, but I don't know, who's to say? Oh, and of course, I can't forget to mention that we got Halloween Kills. I mean, what October is complete without a Michael Myers movie? 2022 is already shaping up to be an even better year for movies. I mean, we've got all sorts of returning franchises coming back for the first time in a while. We've got Marvel and DC continuing their cinematic universes, as well as we got a bunch of other random movies that I may not see or I may see, but I'm actually interested. So what we're gonna do in this video is we're gonna go over my most anticipated movies for 2022 in order of how they released throughout the year. And spoiler alert, they're mostly comic book related because we got a lot of really good comic book stuff coming out this year. All right, so first up, we got a returning franchise, which is the Scream franchise is bringing back a new movie. It's kind of like a soft reboot, and that's coming out January 14th. I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with this franchise and movie going forward. I mean, it's not really like a full reboot or full reimagining of the movie. I think one of the biggest things that hurt the Scream franchise overall is when they started coming out with the Scary Movie franchise, and it was kind of like a spoof and a parody of the Ghostface character. So whenever I saw Ghostface on screen during the Scream movies, I didn't really take him that seriously. I was waiting for him to do some sort of weird thing like he was doing in the Scary Movie franchise.
Pick up the file!
Yo.
What's up?
Next up, we have a video game adaptation coming out February 18th, which is going to be Uncharted. I personally never really played the video games. I didn't really own a PlayStation at the time these were coming out, so I don't really have a dog in the fight with this movie. But at the end of the day, it has Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg, so it makes me excited just to see them on screen. And I feel like it'll be a pretty good movie. I'm not having the biggest expectations for the movie, but at the same time, with those two actors in it, I think it'll be pretty good. Then, of course, on March 4th, we have one of the most anticipated movies by far, which is going to be The Batman. Batman is personally my favorite superhero of all time, so I'm really excited to see another Batman movie come to the screen because it's been forever since we've had just a dedicated Batman movie. And the biggest thing I'm excited that they're adding is this whole world's greatest detective aspect to the Batman movie, because we haven't really gotten that too much in the previous movies. We have a little bit in some of the Christopher Nolan movies, but it's really going to be prominent in this movie. I can already tell from the trailers. On April 1st, we finally hopefully get Morbius, which has been delayed over 200 times, it feels like at this point. So hopefully they don't delay it again, because honestly, I don't think this movie can take another delay. I'm reaching here, but a couple things that I've been seeing is the fact that this movie was delayed because of Spider-Man No Way Home's success, so I feel like they're gonna try and reshoot and add Spider-Man into this movie. I may be reaching, but we'll see what happens. Before the trailers, I really didn't know how I felt about this movie, but now that I've seen the trailers, I'm really excited for it, and I think that Jared Leto is gonna finally find his place in a comic book role, because the Joker didn't work out that well for him, unfortunately. But I'm really excited for this movie, and I hope it does really well when it comes out. Next, on April 15th, we got Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore. I'm a really big Harry Potter fan. I love the movies and books, but I've never really been interested in the Fantastic Beasts movies, so I'm hoping this one's pretty good. From the trailers, it looks really good. Admittedly, I haven't seen the first two, so I'll have to go back and watch those, so that way I can make an objective opinion when this movie actually comes out. But overall, from the trailers, this movie actually looks really interesting. On May 6th, we get my most anticipated movie for 2022, which is going to be Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Originally, this was not my most anticipated movie for 2022 because I was really excited for the Batman. Now, I am still excited for the Batman, but this became my most anticipated because of Spider-Man No Way Home. The way that movie ended, the way the Marvel Universe is going, really got me excited, and I cannot wait to see what happens in this movie. On June 10th, we get another returning franchise, which is going to be Jurassic World Domain. The Jurassic Park franchise has always been a guilty pleasure for me. I really enjoyed the first couple of Jurassic Parks. Even though the second one and third one weren't the best, I still enjoyed them overall. Jurassic World was actually a really good step in the right direction. Fallen Kingdom, I didn't like it too much, but this one actually looks okay, so hopefully they do a good job. The biggest draw here by far is Chris Pratt. I think he did a really good job in the first two Jurassic Worlds, so I think he's going to continue to do a good job and carry this movie. On July 8th, we're getting Thor: Love and Thunder. This movie has a lot of promise to me. I think it can be really good, especially if they build off of what they did in Thor Ragnarok. I thought the vibe in that movie was great, the comedy was great, and if they bring any type of similarities from that movie, this movie should be really good. Obviously, everybody's curious about how Jahns going to become Thor and how that's actually going to work in the whole grand scope of the universe going forward in this movie in general. And also, I didn't know Christian Bale's in this movie, so I'm actually excited to see what he's going to be doing. July 29th is a movie that feels like it's been 8 to 10 years in the making because The Rock has been pushing for it so hard, and that's going to be Black Adam. Dwayne Johnson has been pushing for this movie for so long. I mean, he looks great in the role so far from the stills and stuff we've seen and in the initial trailers. I think it's going to be a pretty good movie overall. We'll see. DC has a tendency to mess things up, so hopefully they don't mess this up, because Shazam was actually pretty good, and I know that's tied in with Shazam a little bit, so hopefully this movie movie ends up being pretty good. On September 30th, we're getting yet another returning franchise, and that's going to be Mission Impossible 7. I can't believe that there's actually been 7 Mission Impossible movies. For me personally, I really loved the Mission Impossible video games when I was growing up. I thought those video games were a lot of fun to play, and I did enjoy the first couple of movies, but there's been so many, and I just lost kind of touch with the franchise that I actually did miss the past couple of movies, so I'll personally need to go back and rewatch them, but nevertheless, this movie should be pretty interesting, I guess. I haven't heard much about it, so we'll find out when they release a trailer. On October 7th, we get the Miles Morales Spider-Man animated series returning in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. Growing up, I was a really big fan of all the animated stuff, but I'm not so much anymore as I've gotten older, so this should be a pretty good movie. I did like the first one, so I guess this one will be just as good, but honestly, I'm just ready for a live-action Miles Morales movie. Can we just get that now? I mean, it's been so long, actually. You know what? We've never gotten it, so come on, man, let's get one. On October 14th, we get my second most anticipated movie for the year, and that's going to be Halloween Ends. I'm a really big horror movie buff, but I'm an even bigger Michael Myers and Halloween fan overall. I just love these movies. I mean, yeah, not all of them are great, but personally, the last 2 movies have actually been really good. I'm first to admit that Halloween Kills is not a perfect movie, and it's really dependent on how well Halloween Ends is and actually finishes the story, but I think that Halloween Ends is going to be pretty good. If it's not, then Halloween Kills and the whole trilogy that they've created is just going to be a wash at this point. On November 4th, we're finally getting the Flash solo movie that we've been waiting for forever. I mean, it's going to be really good, I think, because Ezra Miller is actually a solid Flash. I personally still like Grant Gustin a little bit better, but the biggest thing and the biggest draw to this movie is that Michael Keaton is back as Batman. There's a couple of things from the Flash trailer that really interest me. Like, for example, we're going to have all these different Flashes involved, so obviously the Flashpoint situation, aka the multiverse, is going to be introduced, which gives us Michael Keaton's Batman. But the one thing that I don't like is that there's rumors, aka there's hints that they're going to be erasing all the Zack Snyder stuff from existence with this movie, which I'm not a big fan of because I personally like the Zack Snyder stuff in the first place. We'll see. I'm looking forward to a full trailer for this movie to see what really overall is the full premise of this movie, but nevertheless, it should be pretty interesting. On November 11th, we're going to be getting the follow-up movie to Black Panther, and that's going to be Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I definitely don't envy the director and Marvel Studios with having to deal with the Chadwick Boseman loss. I mean, that's a really big void in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in general. That's a really big void in everybody's lives, but at the same time, I think they're handling it with class, and will handle it with class with this movie. The one thing I know for sure is that Shuri is going to be taking over as Black Panther, so that should be pretty interesting. I'm curious to see how she's going to evolve into the character, and then I'm glad that they're not just like recasting Chadwick Boseman's character. I think that's overall the right move, so I think overall, like I said, Marvel's handling this with class. Lastly, on December 16th, we're getting a movie I had no idea was even coming out, and that's going to be Aqua Man and the Lost Kingdom. Jason Momoa comes back as Aquaman, so I guess he survives whatever Flash purging thing they decided to do with the Zack Snyder stuff, so that's interesting. But overall, I really like the original Aquaman. I thought James Wan did a really good job at directing it. He's directing this movie, so I imagine it will be just as good, so I'm pretty excited for it. We'll see what happens. So what's your most anticipated list of movies coming out in 2022? Is there anything that I missed in this video? Definitely let me know down in the comments below. But anyways, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.